They are the defending high school football national champions, Jason Negro of St. John Bosco. You know, it's funny, we talk about rivalry, modern day St. John Bosco. You know, I'm just sitting up here, I'm thinking, you know, if modern day isn't as good as they are, maybe you don't get crowned national champions on some of those years. Not to take anything from you, but they're so good by knocking them off, or you're so good if they knock you off. That gives you that national prominence, and that's why that rivalry is so good. I mean, would you agree with that to a certain extent?
100%. And you know, this goes back to probably, probably around 2016, 2017. You know, we had a stretch there where we beat Mater Dei 6 straight times. You know, we beat them twice in 13, 14, 15, 16. You know, so we had a pretty good run going against Mater Dei at the time. And then I remember Bruce reached out to me. So Bruce and I had a long talk. You know, I'm a firm believer that I didn't invent anything. It wasn't like Jason Negro came up with something and was so phenomenal that that's the reason why we're at. I just basically stole and I learned from a lot of other people, and I kind of implemented them into our program where I knew they would work. Because not everybody can do what we're doing at Bosco. That's the first thing, you know, the disclaimer that you need to know. We're a pretty unique situation. You need to be a part of the Trinity League, and you need to have what I called at the time a running mate. And I told Bruce, I said, Bruce, we can dominate this thing if you just get your guys and your program to believe that we can play at a national level. And that's when we started to go out and play some of the national teams across the country. I think we've played 26 national opponents, and I think we're something like 23-3 against those opponents. And I know Mater Dei has done the same thing. We've played St. Francis, we've played the IMGs, we've played Miami Centrals, St. Thomas Aquinas, all these schools across the country, and we've built a brand between our two programs where we're now able to go out, schedule anybody in the country, and you beat them, well, then you're going to be ranked somewhere near the top. You know, and I think that's one of the things that I had early on in a vision is I needed somebody to go run with us, and he was willing to do it. And obviously his program spiked in their success over that time, and they started to now flip-flop, and it was probably a little detrimental to me and my success. But again, I want to thank, obviously, him for believing in the fact that, hey, listen, we could go do this, and we could go create something pretty special, and that's what we were able to do. And that's why we're at where we're at today, is because of the league, the opponents, and having a running mate like Mater Dei.
And we've got a big one in. That's right. It's Mr. Tom Simmons, the assistant commissioner of the CIF-SOUTHERN section. 26 years in the office, Mr. Simmons. The win-it-all class mentality is a good segue to talk about some of those powerhouse programs. And because the transfer market per se, it's probably a bad way to put it, but because the transfers are so rampant in such a high clip, those kind of the rich get richer, it seems sometimes, Tom. And then you got these programs that feel like they have to kind of play that game too if they don't want to get blown out by 35 every Friday night or by 30 on the scoreboard in basketball. Is there a way to fix that? You know, if you had a magic wand to kind of swirl it, whether it be, you know, changing some of the transfer rules or the way schools might operate, is there a fix for that?
For me, that's not a topic I can touch, and I'll simply say that to you because, again, it's the will of the membership. If the membership wanted to do something about that, sure, there's an easy fix: 1 year no eligibility whenever you transfer. That's one way you could go.
And talk about, and for the viewer that might not know, when you talk about membership agreeing to do that, can you explain hypothetically if they wanted to make that rule? Okay, you transfer, you got to sit out a whole year. How would that go about?
Well, you would go to, again, the council, which we talked about. Your league would make a proposal at the council level. I mean, like I said, they meet 3 times a year, and they're comprised of the 88 leagues that make the membership. But if it got out of the section level, and you know the majority, and it doesn't have to be 2/3, it just has to be a simple majority. If the majority of those leagues wanted to change it, it gets changed. Then it goes to the state federated, and then all 10 sections, and then what we call allied organizations would vote on it.
We have a very special guest. She's got over 800 high school basketball wins. I think she only did that in a couple of years. We'll get to that in a second. Harvard Westlake girls basketball coach Melissa Hurley. Last 10, 15 years, high school sports there's more of a business side to it. Or maybe it's always been that way, but maybe it's more apparent nowadays.
Apparent, I guess. Was that a play on words?
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it is business. It's a bit when you're talking about parents that are trying to get the education at the next level paid for. Because you look at most of the universities, we're talking about $20,000 to $100,000. That's a lot of money a year. So they're trying to get that component done, and then moving on. And so I understand that. So I think it's twofold. I miss the community aspect, and the kids wanting to play for school and being proud to put on the jersey and the name on the front as opposed to the name on the back. I think that's where we've gone. So it makes it difficult as an educator, because back when I started coaching for the first 20 years, we all worked at the school. We all taught classes. We were all part of the community. And I think that whole scenario has gone away. Even down to, when you go to games now and you look at how people dress, coaches are dressing as opposed to the way they dressed the first 30 years of my career. You very rarely see a coat and tie. You very rarely see slacks and a sweater or not. It's
They're in a
jumpsuits.
jumpsuit, yeah.
It's jumpsuits, and part of that, you look at COVID and the colleges going that direction because there were nobody there, so they would just wear what's comfortable. So now it's about what's comfortable. And don't you think that's what it is in general? It's about what's comfortable.
Covering high school sports for 40 years, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll correct it, I believe he's still in his first job, if I'm not mistaken, at the OC Register. It's Mr. Steve Fryer. Welcome into the studio. Thanks for coming on. What are some of the standout players? I know there's a laundry list of them, I'm sure, but the ones that come to mind, and maybe actually if I could specifically ask you before you get into a list, maybe who was the first you watched and went, whoa, okay, that's a different guy right there, or young lady?
Tony Gonzalez, was something special. He was a really good football player and a very good basketball player. Played basketball at Cal. He was fantastic. Rob Johnson, who was a quarterback at El Toro and played in the NFL and played at USC. He was a good baseball, basketball, and football guy. He was fantastic. Deshaun Foster, who played at UCLA, played at Tustin High. I swear I saw him intercept. He played defense, too. I swear I saw him intercept a pass at the opponent's 15 and took 2 steps into the end zone.
Yeah, just like galloped in for a guy.
I saw that. Matt Barkley was spectacularly polished as a quarterback. It just goes on. And then the baseball guys, Freddie Freeman, Matt Chapman and Nolan Arenado both played the same position in high school, now they're in the Major League Baseball. And but especially the baseball guys, Garrett Cole, the pitcher, gosh. But it's just nuts how many, Misty May, volleyball.
Sure.
I mean, you watch the Olympics and, volleyball, aquatics. Go to a Major League Baseball game. Tanner Bybee is pitching against Patrick Sandoval at Angel Stadium. They were teammates at Mission Viejo. Shane Bieber won the Cy Young Award. I didn't see him play in high school because it wasn't even on my map.
And before we pan over to our guest, I have to introduce him the correct way. 1,243 wins, according to Cal High Sports. He'll correct us if it's wrong. That's the most winningest total of games in California high school boys basketball history. Ladies and gentlemen, modern day's Gary McKnight. Shea Cotton. I mean, some people say Shea Cotton was like LeBron. That kind of buzz, that kind of limelight per se, and the talent. Please talk about Shea Cotton.
They called him the man child.
The man child.
Shea came to us during his freshman year. He left Bosco and came to us. His first time he got the ball in the game, got the ball in the left wing, went the length of court, and just threw it through. One time I saw him, we ran a short corner for him on a zone offense, and we're playing Poly. And we threw him the ball, and he did a two-handed dunk, and he was arms and shoulders even with the rim.
When you talk about Shea Cotton and how much he might have been ahead of his time in regard to the buzz, so you're talking mid-90s, the name that comes to mind, at least recently, is a kid like Bronny James. I know there's a different LeBron James son, I get it, but it's a fair comparison because to a certain element, Shea Cotton was that kind of not only a good player, but man, he was attracting sold out crowds. When you think about a 16, 17-year-old kid going through that, you got an inside look on how challenging it was for him to deal with it. What was your role, him going through that?
Well, I just try to make him as relaxed as possible, but he got banged up a few times that year, and league, I think he only played 2 league games that year because he was a little banged up. But Clay McKnight got MVP of the league that year because he wasn't playing. If he was playing, Clay wouldn't have got it.
Okay.
But he, he just went through a lot, and he took things hard. He wanted to be perfect all the time in a game that can't be played perfect. Bob Knight used to say that. We all strive for perfection, but it's something that can't be played perfect. And I think he felt just way too much pressure. And being on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a sophomore in high school probably didn't help
As
a lot.
fantastic as it sounds,
Yeah.
there was kind of a flip side to that. It's new CIF Southern Section Commissioner Mike West recruiting. How do you govern it? It's a hot topic. People will say, "Oh, we know the schools are doing it. We know the schools are doing it." From the CIF Southern Section's point of view, and I know that there's a lot of schools that you govern, and it's very, very difficult to put a thumb on it.
Right.
What can you talk about with the high school recruiting?
I can tell you that anytime that any information is brought to us that has substance, that is not hearsay.
Sure.
That is not rumor. That is not innuendo. We will look into it to the best of our ability. Okay. But we get all these perceptions that, oh, this school, they're recruiting. And is it happening? Perhaps. As a high school principal, hey, I heard that kid was smoking in the restroom. Am I going to just go grab that kid and suspend him based on hearsay? No. I've got to have some evidence. I've got to have some proof that these things are happening. When things come to us, we do take them seriously. I haven't seen anything that's been, quote unquote, shoved under the rug. We will always bring it back to the schools and help us go through the investigation piece and to make a determination of any substance or not. But is recruiting now the emphasis, or is it again the parents shopping as the biggest piece right now? So we do the best that we can. Again, I don't have unlimited resources to do the investigation piece, but if it's outside of an email saying, "Hey, I heard this is going on, you need to look into this," well, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and maybe we'll ask some questions. But without any really hard evidence, it's going to be difficult for us to govern all 560 schools.
Of course, we always bring in the best guests, and we've got one of the best high school football coaches, maybe in the country, in the state, and certainly in the Southland. Corona Centennial's Matt Logan is joining us in the studio right now. Coach, thank you for being here with us. Got to ask you about the playoff system. I know all those D1 coaches, they don't like missing out on a game. Their kids, these kids work hard and everyone gets to play.
Right.
In theory, has the opportunity to play an extra game. You have to take a bye week. I'd imagine that's a source of contention, but expand on it and maybe anything else you might have to say about the playoff system.
Yeah, not a fan of missing a game for sure. I might have a little bit of magic wand to that, and I've expressed this opportunity. But, a lot of my coaches that I coach with think they should do what we do in basketball, kind of like do a round robin thing.
Okay.
But I think we should do something different. I think we should take 16 for Division 1 or 2 or Open and 1, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. You take 16 and the 8 teams that lose, and then don't take a division below it. So if it was Division 1, you wouldn't take a Division 2. The 8 teams that lose go down to Division 2. And then
Play out from there.
Play out from there.
Okay.
So we all play a game, and it just divides it up, and they can reseed it whatever they want for the second round. But I think that's fair because I think right now the way it sits, you take 8 teams and you cut your divisions, or they took 8 this year, I think 10 the year before, and then you cut your divisions by 16 all the way down. I just kind of think, and I understand competitive equity, but I think we're kind of rewarding mediocrity, and to see teams at 3 and 7 get in, and to see other teams that that are big schools playing in Division 2 or 3 and having a lot of success, it's not fair. It's not right.
In your scenario, 16 teams, if you make the Division I playoffs, you're actually guaranteed at least 2 games.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I've never actually heard of that. That's
You
actually
perform
not bad.
well. You perform well. Your seeding goes up. Then you might have an easier draw for that second round game.
Yeah.
So that's your carrot.
Coach, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, Coach.
So maybe we can.
Let me see what I can do.
Yeah,
No,
let's
kidding.
get that going.
We've got David Rabibo in studio, Harvard Westlake boys basketball coach, defending CIF state championship, Open Division team. The Wolverines are the team to beat this season. Coach, welcome in. The Open Division, what do you think about that format?
I like it. I would love the hard part is the spacing between tournaments. So you got the sectional tournament and the state tournament, right? And the reality is you're trying to fill space. Ideally, I would love if it was a 12 or 16 team bracketed deal. I think it'd be great.
Not a fan of the pool play?
I don't I don't know. It's such a unique. We were in that
It
space
is.
last year. You
It
know, we
is.
lost to Bosco.
That's right.
And then we got to play West Ranch at home, and we win that. And Bosco loses, we got a chance to go. We don't. You know, and I just find that unique. But I also think it's probably a really hard thing. Like when you go 0-2, like, are you really trying to win your third game,
Right.
or are you trying to go down Division One and
Yeah, the
win state?
incentive gets lost. The challenging question I'll ask you is, okay, you are the number 1 seed in the open division, and it's let's say they go to 16 teams
Yep.
or what have you, and you get upset.
Yeah.
You're cool with just that's it. Your season's just over.
I think there's a level of reality to that.
Okay.
You know, I think that's part of the
Everyone watching's like, yeah,
yeah,
your season's over.
The allure of the playoffs,
Sure,
right?
sure.
You know, I wouldn't. Like, I do wonder if you went to like a series, like how would that play out? Like, to extend it, like, could you go, hey, you have a 3-team pool or whatever, 4-team pool, and you're going to go home and away, home and away, home and away. That to me might be intriguing.
But please let us know what is your beef per se with the playoff system now at your level.
Well, the only fix that I would see is there needs to be a blend of the both. You know, you do need to have some matrix that is going to help with the rankings and allow,
Sure.
you know, you to understand kind of where people are at. But then you also need to try to drive programs to want to become more competitive, not the other way around. And right now what is happening, and if you just go to the CIF site and look for games wanted, everybody puts in there, we are a Division X team and we're looking to play X, Y, or Z opponents. And it's like, why are you looking to just play X, Y, and Z? Why aren't you looking to play A, B, and C opponents? And people will say, well, it's not, you know, why would I want to schedule a game that I'm not going to win? Well, how do you know that? I mean, there was nobody in the country thought we were going to go to Hawaii and lose to Kahuku.
No, that's
But
true.
guess what
That
happened?
is true.
St. John Bosco, the big, bad, amazing team all over the country, went and didn't play well, and they got beat by another opponent. Kahuku's a very good football program. Sterling Carvalho, the head coach there, is a super competitive guy. A week before, they lost to Mater Dei 55-8. So everyone's thinking, oh, Bosco's going to roll them up 60-8. Guess what? Bosco lost. You know, and that is the beauty of high school athletics. It's the beauty of being able to go out there and play these competitive opponents and to not be afraid, right? Don't be afraid to be great. Sometimes we're afraid to go test our ability to be great. Kahuku was not afraid. And they went out there on their home, and you should have seen their community when they won that game. We almost couldn't get off the campus. They were so rowdy,
Yeah.
blocking our buses and hooping and hollering. But you know what? I sat back, and I could have been all upset and, you know, angered by it. But I was motivated by it. I was like, man, this is the beauty of this. We're in the North Shore of Hawaii, and this community is going nuts, and we helped provide them a memory for a lifetime.
Athletically motivated transfer. Can you?
Doesn't exist.
Okay, it doesn't exist. That's what I thought. So it used. Give us the history on athletically motivated transfer, please.
When we went through from you know, the different bylaws for valid residential change and hardship, and we instituted SOP, the very first thing that we took out was athletically motivated transfers. The only thing with regard to athletically motivated transfers that still exists is if you follow a coach within 24 months.
Got it.
So I'm at school A, and my new coach gets a job at school B, and I transfer to school B. That's an athletically motivated transfer.
So is that why that verbiage is still in the book?
Yes, and the only place that it's there
got
is
it.
that
okay,
one
I
line.
feel like people have kind of just seen that, and
Yeah.
it's out of context, and they run with it like it still exists. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was gone a while ago.
I can
and that's hard
transfer-
to prove, right? Is
Yeah.
that there's an element of that too, Tom?
Sure, I can transfer. That was why we got one of the reasons we got rid of the bylaws, is because if you just kept your mouth shut,
Yeah.
you could never be in violation of the bylaw.
You'd have to-
but as soon as you open your mouth and you said, "Hey, yeah, this was a better opportunity for me to play football at
Yeah.
school B," and that's why you were done.
Yeah, it's in the LA Times or it's in Daily News.
Right.
Blah blah. A simple little quote. It's like, okay, you're not playing.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it didn't make any sense for us to institute a bylaw that basically you couldn't win.
Right. Can't prove that.
can't prove it.
Okay, so doesn't exist anymore for everybody out there.